Hi, this is Nancy Jean, and welcome back to the garden today. And like I said, we're going to be working on a path, looking at different disciplines and different ways that you can learn and work with spirit and energy. Now, first of all, everybody's going to say, oh, but I don't have any energy around me. I can't do this. We're going to do a fun thing. We're going to build an energy ball. What you're going to do is you're going to rub your hands together and then slowly pull them apart till you start to feel like they're falling apart. And then you circle around like that, and they'll feel the warmth of the energy. Then you pull a little further out, starting to get cool. Generate some more energy by turning your hands, moving those meridians, then turn it out a little further. And move your hands back and forth, turn it out a little bit bigger. Move your hands back and forth. And if you can kind of feel, it feels like there's something in there, but not really. Well, that's the energy from your body. Then what you do is you go over your head and you put your energy back in your body. But that's how you can feel energy. Because people always tell me, oh, you were born like this and you can read this and da, 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 da. And that's not altogether true. I mean, I was born like this and I can read this, but so can you if you try. So for today, the card that I picked out of the Inner Child Tarot, which is appropriate after the Yellow Brick Road yesterday, is the Guide of Hearts. And it says, the beginning, during times of distress, there are an extreme turning points in life known as the dark nights of the soul. We may lose sight or guides of teachers. We may seemingly be bereft of any tangible support. We may feel completely lost at our wits' end. Then perhaps in that 11th hour, that ray of light, the sun that Dorothy found, takes you forward. It's the answer to a prayer, a lightning-like flash, a visitation that offers you liberation. And the other thing about when the good fairy shows up in your life, it's love is being sent to you by invisible helpers and angels and spirits. Don't despair if a problem seems unsolvable. Don't despair if you think you don't have any of this energy. You do. Just give it a try. Quiet your mind. Let intuitive answers materialize within your imagination. A symbol, an archetype, a special person, maybe that link to find that inner happiness. Remember the old saying, home is where the heart is. Realize that you can be your own disguised good fairy in your own heart. Your soothing words, your gentle touch, or inspirational example can lead a friend or loved one out of the darkness and into the light. And I think that's just a perfect reading for today. And I'm going to show you how I use pendulums. It's a really quick thing. You start, this is a Merkaba. It's really two pyramids interlocked, and it's the top, what's one of the top figures or forms in sacred geometry. And you start with it in the middle of your hand and you hold it still, and then you say, okay, which way is yes? Now, I know y'all are saying, she's touching it, she's moving it. I'm not. It really just goes on its own. And then you put it back in your palm and you say, which way is no? Which way is no? Which way is no? Okay. Sometimes it takes it a while for it to gear up. Okay. What if it's a maybe? Where do we go when we're doing a maybe? It does a circle. That's pretty much how it works for me. I have other friends. Yes and no will be in different directions each time. Each time you pick up a pendulum, you have to check with it, see what it is. Now, this is a very precious piece to me, and I'm not going to put it over the bag because you can see it just plain on my hand. This pendulum was put together for me by my friend that used to sell crystals at the psychic fair. And she put this one together for me. Now, how do you hold it? I kind of loop it over one finger. Whatever you can do that will make it be stable when you pull it up works. Which way is yes? Get you. Which way is no? This pendulum knows me, so it really saying no. Okay. And okay, what if we hit a question that's a maybe? We gonna have any maybes? And a maybe. Maybe dozen circles. Now, how do you use it? What kind of questions do you ask? Well, I'm sorry, my camera's moving. I'm getting a new setup so that I'll quit making you seasick. You kind of, it's like when you ask questions in tarot. A lot of times people say, what I want to know about is this and this and this. And you have to kind of narrow it down. These guys can do yes and no, and they can also do maybes, but they can't do, should I order in Chinese tonight or Italian? Because it doesn't do ors. It doesn't do what we used to call in computer language decision trees. It's a yes or a no. So it's got to be a, it's got to have a polarity to the question. And like I told you, you can end up with maybes. So this kind of using this energy, crystals, this in this form, it's a little like dowsing. If you've ever seen anyone use dowsing rods where the rods go together. And that's kind of an interesting technique. I've never dowsed, but dowsing was actually a lot of, in the Catholic Church, there were a lot of abbeys that went out and doused, and they used to find wells to, because it's better if you have a well, because you got to have water from somewhere. But also there's a lot of cathedrals and things that are built on the sites, the original sites of Anglo-Saxon churches in England that were by wells, ones they actually call Wells Cathedral. Got it? Okay. So what you can use them, it's that, to me, the kind of energy you feel when you use a pendulum is like dowsing. And those are just using energies. And because when we read cards, it starts with energies, and and then we have symbols and other things to trigger it off. But it all starts with kind of where your question is. So try to pick a pretty specific yes, no, and just try it out. Now, the way I learned to do the pendulum was in college. And we used to take a lead pencil, and the lead pencils like we had when I was a kid that had rubber erasers on the top. We'd stick a pin in the rubber eraser. We'd run some thread around the top of that so that it would swing like a pendulum. And it was like a lead pencil, guys. It was nothing fancy. And we'd put our wrist, I'm going to make you guys sick again. We'd put the pendulum over our wrist. We'd set it here. We'd lift it up. And when it got really still, we'd say, which way is a boy? And it would do what it did. It'd say, which way is a girl? It'd do the other thing. And then we'd say, we'd settle it down again. And then we'd say, okay, first child. And if it moved, then you'd have one. Then you go, and then you pick it up again and go, second child. And it goes, that was a girl. And then I put it down and it said third child. And it took a long time when I did mine to get going, but every time we did it, there was a third child, and it was a boy. And I have two boys and a girl. But it was a fun thing to do in the dorm. That's the first time I ever saw pendulums. They can be used, like for a lot of people, it's like, clarify, is what I'm seeing real? Is it like yes, no? It'll give you an answer that way. Where do you find pendulums? You find them all over the place, but there's a reader that I'm sure many of you have seen on YouTube named Trudy Lee. She runs a little store, like an Etsy store, and it's called Trader Trudy's. And I'm putting a link below, because Trudy's always been a very sweet woman to me. She's not paying me for any of this, and she's not giving me anything for this. But I know I've seen some of her rose quartz crystals that she has as pendulums, and I'm sure if it's in her stock, it's good stuff. But you can find them around. You could make your own if you wanted to go to all the trouble of rigging all that. Anyway, that's kind of pendulums for me. Now, people say, okay, but what else? Where else can I learn about other things? And we're going to be using information out of Radleigh Valentine's book, The Compendium of Magical Things, How to Communicate with the Divine. And he's got everything in here. He's got astrology, he's got I Ching, he's got runes, he's got all kinds, and he's got numerology, a lot of different things. And it's a wonderful book to go back and remember, because I knew dowsing and pendulums had been mixed together when I read about them, but I didn't realize again until today when I was researching it that, yep, those two uses of life energy around you are sort of coming from the same place. Anyway, I hope that gives you some ideas. Radleigh's book's listed below, Trudy's website's listed below. And I did a definition of Merkaba because I think it's a beautiful shape. And I hope, I never can remember when this came or where I am. You can look at it and see it's a very, very pretty shape, and it's a very spiritual shape. This guy, when it's over my palm and I'm looking down at it, just sparkles up at me, and it will swing. When you first try this, it may take a little bit to get it going. When I used to do table reads and people used to say, oh, pshaw, there's no energy around me, I'd lend them. I do not believe that I can't lend someone my pendulum. I'd lend them my pendulum and I'd say, try it. And when you're holding it completely still and all of a sudden it starts swinging its little heart out, it kind of freaks people out at first. So kind of it's a fun thing. So you can feel it's like the energy in the ball. If there's energy all around us, and it's up to us to use it to help our own heart. That's the path we're on, is to help our own soul and our heart unite in a positive way. Anyway, that's what's going on in the garden today. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.